Hey guys, what's up? It's Jules here for WhatCulture.com with another episode of the most insane things happening in wrestling right now. Yes, I'm back off my holiday and I am here bringing you a show that does exactly what it says on the tin in the most annoying way possible. You are very welcome. Now, before I begin, because I was off, there are a few things that I'm actually bringing into this episode that are a little older, but I think you'll understand why as and when they come up. And also, I just want to say that 2018 was one of the best years of my life, both personally and professionally with this channel, and it is in no small part thanks to you at home for watching. So yeah, cheers. Let's make 2019 great, and the best way to do so is to crack on with the show and hit that intro. And let's kick this bloody thing off by talking about a bloody thing that sent the internet into a bloody meltdown. I'm speaking, of course, about the spot in which Priscilla Kelly took a tampon out of her trunks and placed it in the mouth of her opponent, Tuna, giving the new meaning to the word dabbing in the process. As you could expect, this provoked a reaction within the community, and Twitter offered up the following gems. Embarrassing, said Jim Ross. Revolting, echoed Tessa Blanchard. This is the reason people despise our industry, chimed Road Dogg. How about telling a story in the ring instead, asked Gail Kim. Scathing criticism from some people, who two of which were involved in the Attitude Era, which, as we all know and remember, was tits on display, make women bark like dogs, suck my wiggly piggly, kiss my bare ass era. Now, what you think of this spot is up to you, but just consider the following. This spot didn't kill wrestling. It was agreed upon, and if the performers are masters and the context is right, you can still lock into a viewing experience as if it were real or in good taste. Joey Ryan defended the spot, unsurprisingly, because he's a man who's made a career out of his iron dick. We live in a world where CZW routinely comes up with new ways to nearly kill people and soaks the ring mat in more blood than even Gangrel could gargle. So while the spot was shocking, while it might have offended people, really, if we're being honest, it sounds like the biggest haters are moaning just because the blood was coming from between her legs and not from literally anywhere else. One of the harder news stories to swallow recently was the fact that Mean Gene Okerlund passed away this year. The man is so tied with wrestling that his voice pretty much echoes in any room that the WWF has ever touched. Therefore, it was incredibly touching to see that he would get a proper tribute on Raw this week. And here's the thing. While WWE were right to do such a tribute, they were incredibly clever in how they approached it, using it as a vehicle to get Hulk Hogan back into the ring without there ever being a chance of being a shred of boos from the audience. Now, I realise that this is a wholly cynical statement, as Hulk and Mean Gene worked together a lot, and it was incredibly touching to see Hogan list off other greats that would be waiting for Gene in the life beyond. I cannot express to you how hard it must be to talk about a dearly departed friend on such a large scale, and for a moment, everything was as it should be. A genuine moment of public grieving by a man who had been in some hot water with the company for his use of language in the past. It was really well done. I think that this segment, Mean Gene's death, has actually done more to strip away the bullshit that is Hulk Hogan's perceived ego more than anything else. He spoke in a regular voice, well, for a bit at least, and he spoke from the heart. He spoke with commitment. I wish he hadn't mentioned Moolah, though. That's still a bit of a hot topic for all those caught up in the allegations that came out after her death. However, as it stands, WWE managed to get the most out of this segment, both for Hogan's perception and for a genuine goodbye. We'll miss you, Mean Gene.
When is the revival both alive and dead?
Oh, Phil, it is so good to see you, mate. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for covering the show while I've been away. And also, I'm just glad to have the Philosophy Corner back again. It's
nice,
just
isn't it?
This little cafe I thought was going to close down without our continued support. It is a cafe at the background, isn't it?
I assume so.
I'm sure you'll make it one.
Yeah,
How if I
can
admit
be.
it? Anyway,
Can be.
it's also when the Revival are being held captive on Raw. Is it a cafe?
Yeah? Think so.
It's like a jazz cafe, isn't it?
Yeah. Fancy.
Bloody jazzers. Fuck 'em. Yeah, so this might sound a bit strange, but I think the Revival are actually trying to send us a secret message thanks to this week's Raw. When they smashed onto the scene, both Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder were such a fresh breath of fresh breathy air that they managed to make fans of the likes of Jim Cornette and the almost hipsterish NXT fanbase, yet they have not been used well on the flagship show. In fact, they've been buried time and time again, and their gimmick of not having a gimmick floundered on a 3-hour show that rewards repetitious, not even repetitious. Say the word right, Jules. Repetitious lines. Clearly, though, they'd had enough, as emblazoned on their trunks this week was #FTR. Now, what could that mean? Well, one, it could mean the Revival, which might suggest that Dash and Dawson have entered full self-loathing territory, and is also a callback to the Young Bucks absolutely ripping the piss out of them. Or, more likely, free the Revival. Free them from their contracts and allow them to go to, say, I don't know, an up-and-coming new promotion that might offer them a greater platform on which to showcase their skills. Now, I can't think of any such promotion off the top of my head, but I hope that somebody's watched this and has broken the Cody and allowed these young men to make some bucks in the future. I wish I could help them, though. I just can't think of anything. Anyway, in totally separate news, All Elite Wrestling just had their formation rally in Jacksonville, Florida, and had quite a few shocking moments of their own. Joey Janela, Pac, aka Neville, and none other than Dad Boy, Bad Boy, Dead Bad Bod, Chris Jericho signed up with the burgeoning promotion. I meant to say Big Bad Boy, Dad Bod. Didn't come out that well, did it? That would be insane enough, right? That Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks have come this far and taken the deepest plunge possible by not simply just baiting the WWE, but stepping into the goddamn arena with it. But yet this actually leads to a more insane moment. The fact that some of the fans who attended this rally weren't allowed into the SmackDown arena that same night because of their clothing choices. Now, reports state that a few punters were actually turned away for their All Elite Wrestling merch, and one guy definitely was forbidden from entering, a la the evidence on Twitter. Reports from inside the event also stated that WWE handed out some free t-shirts in an effort to bury the other competition in a way that just seems ultra petty. Remember that this is the same company that had no problem whatsoever showing people in NWO shirts while WCW was still going. So why get so anal about this now? Well, as you might expect in this day and age, it didn't stay secret for long, and as such, there's now a swell of people who are stating that they're going to turn up to the NXT UK event this Saturday in full all-in regalia. Now, Vince, if you want people to do something, don't tell them to not do the opposite, otherwise that's exactly the response you'll end up getting, you greased goose. So yeah, Vince complaining and clamping down on clothing while looking like a clown? Are you having a giraffe?
I'm Brock Lesnar. I'm gonna challenge you to a fight.
Brock Lesnar, come down to the ring! Braun forgot his lines. And now we close with the second of Vince's mad antics this week, as it's equally as mean-spirited. As I mentioned before, one of the huge gets for AEW was the one and only code-breaker, risk-taker Y2J, and something tells me that Vince was not happy about the veteran signing on to help this new promotion. And what's my evidence for this? Well, it's actually the lack of evidence of Chris Jericho on the then, now, forever signature that precedes the show. He's also been moved from the main roster on the WWE.com section into the alumni, which is pretty much the same as saying, he's dead to me, bury him with the others. Ooh, that got a bit dark. It might be an overcorrection on the old man's part, but it is completely unsubtle. It's the most Vince thing you can think of doing, and in this instance, it's akin to somebody holding their hands over their ears and just going, la 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 la, I'm not listening, la 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 la, when you bring up something they don't want to acknowledge. Vince, you're a fool, aren't you? Because it's actually had the opposite what you originally intended. Because if Jericho had remained on the package and on the site, we wouldn't be so keen to talk about it now. So if anything, you've given more publicity and credibility to AEW being a threat by reacting in such a manner. It's an interesting move, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off. And those were the most insane things happening in wrestling this week. Now, I would normally close out the show by reading my favourite comments from last week's episode, but I wasn't bloody here. I was enjoying my holiday and Phil did it, so massive thank you to him. Instead, what I'm going to do is ask you a booking question. I want you to book me a mad match between two wrestlers in under 100 words, and I'm going to read out the best ones next week. Who knows, there might be a prize involved. And we kick things off with Viscera versus Kurt Angle. You can choose the venue and the stipulation and go absolutely mental with the rest. A massive, massive, massive thank you to Phil Chambers and Michael Sidgwick for their continued work on this new 2019 show. And as always, I've been Jules. Follow me at RetroJ with a 0 over on Twitter, and I'll speak to you next week, you lovely, lovely people. Also, if you're fancying it and in the mood, buy my shirt. Speaking of, people getting kicked out of buildings for wearing terrible stuff, now you can get kicked out of your own home for wearing this dead meme. You're welcome.